Hey, what is up guys, it's Galaxy Tech Dartlord here, back again for the first time in quite a while actually. I just haven't been very interested in the game, but yeah. And I also haven't had time to put into the game either. But now with Invasion Vengeance out, I've looked at Metalfoes again. I'm very much enjoying the deck. I took this to my locals the other day. I got 5th place in it. There were about 20 odd people, so it wasn't too bad, I guess. The only loss I had was to BAPK in the final round, and I drew once against ABC, but I beat an ABC player. I beat Zing player. Yeah, I can't quite remember everything, but I'll put it in the description below if you guys are interested. So yeah, this is what I'm running at the moment. So starting off, we have 3 copies of Volflame, 3 copies of Gold Driver, 3 copies of Silvered, 3 copies of Steelin. This lineup is pretty standard. They just all have the same effect, and then running 3 copies of Bismagear. So basically this bumps up the Metalfoes count to 15, which is great. It provides another high scale, which is also really good. And this also has an end phase effect when it's destroyed when it's on the field and it's been destroyed. Doesn't matter if it's Pendulum Zone or if it's on the monster zone. You get a search for a Metalfoes monster during the end phase. It can even search itself if you really want to. The only problem I have with it is that it being level 1, it means that you can't actually Pendulum summon this thing. But you can also recycle it with your Metalfoes counter, so that's not too bad. So, moving on with the monsters. We got 3 copies of Megaspectre Raccoon. So this is also pretty standard for for a Metalfoes deck and for just most Pendulum decks at the moment, because you run it with the 1 copy of Kirin. Which, if you want to disrupt your opponent's board, that's the way to do it. Then running 1 copy of Luster just for the Ignister play. You can make Ignister with this and Gold Driver, or if you can make Ignister another way with Gofu, for example, then you can special summon this and get a free pop, which is quite useful. Then running 2 copies of Archfiend Eccentric at the moment. I'm considering running a 3rd and then putting Tour Guide in to get 1 out and use as an anti-spell out. But for now, 2 is fine for me. So yeah. Then 2 copies of Gofu, because this card is really good, but it clogs a bit, in my opinion. And there were actually times yesterday when I drew into both of them, and when I just didn't want them. But at the same time, it's really good. You special summon it, get 2 tokens, which gets you a free pop. You can use the tokens as fusion material. I don't run Ultimire anymore. I just feel that Ultimire is a bit subpar at the moment, so I just use this to go into any synchro that I need to. Generally level 8. I don't think there's ever come up a time when I actually want to make a level 7. But anyway, then running 1 copy of Rescue Rabbit. This is currently my out to anti-spell, because you summon this, you banish it, you get either 2 Gold Drivers or 2 copies of Silvered from your deck, make either Grand Pulse or Castell, and just spin away the anti-spell. So yeah. Then lastly, I'm playing 2 copies of Max C, just because the format. There are a lot of decks that special summon. It's just very good. I was considering siding it, but I realised when I turned up I only had 39 cards, so I just put those back in the put them from side into main, and then put System Downs in my side deck. So yeah. Then onto the spells. 3 copies of Painful Decision. I'm not running Summoner's Art anymore because it just isn't as useful. There's only one target in the deck. But with Painful Decision, you've already got quite a few targets to search with it, and just playing it at 3 means you don't banish it all with your desires, and also you see it more often. And every time I've seen it, I've loved having it in my hand, because just you use it, search for the scale that you need, and go on from there. So yeah. Then 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Obviously, most decks are running it these days. That's all I've got to say on the matter. Then running 1 copy of Metalfoes Fusion and 1 copy of full Metalfoes fusion. So I really like this new one because it's just during your opponent's turn you flip it to make something like full Metalfoes Alcahest, which is just so good and so disruptive and slows the game down if you haven't got a very good hand. But yeah, like the Metalfoes fusion recycling itself is very good. I still prefer this over full Metalfoes fusion, but having both of these is very good. So yeah. Then moving on with the traps, playing 3 copies of Metalfoes Counter because this card is pretty good, but like I don't think running 3 after last night, I don't think running 3 was actually most optimal. Like it didn't make a difference because I only ever really used 2 of them at a time. So, you know, having the 3rd one while the other 2 were in the graveyard was okay, but other than that, I don't think it served any great benefit of running 3 of them. But yeah, so I was running 3 of them, and 1 copy of Metalfoes combination, just because popping this with something like a TachyonDragon or your Metalfoes card is just very good, gets you a search, and it also gets you a plus when you fusion summon, you just get something back from the graveyard. So yeah. Then playing 1 Warning and 1 Emptiness, just standard cards. Then moving on to the extra deck, running 2 copies of Metalfoes Mithrilium, one of the new cards. This card is just great, like being able to recycle stuff and spin away stuff at the same time is really great, especially when it's like this with your full Metalfoes fusion. And this card can also float into things when it goes into the graveyard. So basically you float into whatever you use to make it in the graveyard, or something from the face-up extra deck. So yeah. Then 1 Alcahest. This is really good when you need to slow the game down to make sure... This card is really good when you need to slow the game down a bit, and it's the level of disruption this card produces is just really, really great. So yeah, I wouldn't run it at any more than this, because if it goes to the graveyard, you can just recycle it with Mithrilium, because that's your go-to card. 1 copy of Orichalk, because double piercing, and 1 copy of Adamant, just because it's an extra target to go into, but there's no Altamaya in this deck, so, you know, you're not going to use it for that. Then 1 copy of Ignista and 1 TachyonDragon. These are your anti-spell outs. Like, you can make these with Gofu and Silvered. This TachyonDragon also really works well with combination when you need to search for a scale using it. So yeah. Then 1 copy of Void Ogre and 1 copy of Omega to round those off. Then for the rank 7s, running 1 copy of Flare Metal, 1 copy of Big Eye. I'm still a strong advocate of running rank 7s in the deck. They're quite easy to make, and it's easy to get the materials back from the graveyard. Then 1 Dweller, 1 Castel. Dweller against BAPK is really good, and also ABC. And Castel just spins away whatever you need. Then lastly, 1 Breaksword and 1 copy of Grand Pulse, because these cards are also really good. They also out anti-spell, and Breaksword just outs whatever you need to. And then lastly, 2 tokens for Gofu. So yeah guys, that just about brings me to the end of the deck profile. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like to show your appreciation, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Peace out.